So when was it that you transitioned over to coaching? You said that you were from a journalism background. What was it that made you go into coaching in the first place?
Um, well, I started off. I was in. Yeah, I was a news journalist for rather longer than I care to mention because it gives away my age. Um, um, and at the towards the end of my journalism career, I was pretty much sort of living the dream. I had a very, very well-paid job managing a very large newsroom of journalists,
Mm.
um, influencing audiences, of millions. 29 million viewers a week our service had.
Wow.
So this was a non-small job. But and people would presumably be very envious of that kind of role. But I was massively unhappy. I painted myself into a corner, and I'm imagining that other people who've gone into the sort of the NLP personal development process can recognise this kind of story.
Mm.
That really I went into NLP. I got sent on an NLP-based management training course from my work. But what interested me about it was not how to use it in my work, but really on what it could do for me. Was this, in fact, a way that I could be happy? Was it a way that I could find a way out of this trap that I'd created for myself?
And that's the first time you heard of NLP on that course, was it?
On a management training
Yeah.
course. And actually, the guys who ran the course never said it was NLP. It wasn't until we were having a drink on the last evening before going home that I asked, well, what is this stuff?
Mm.
And they told me it was NLP, and that was the start of that journey,
Okay.
really. So I went on NLP practitioner and later master practitioner with the hope that I would find some stuff that I could apply to myself in order to get myself somewhere better and happier. With, to be honest, not much hope that it would work, but sort of,
Hope all the
well,
same.
yeah, sort of more hope than expectation.
Mm.
I thought it's got to be worth a try.
Yeah.
And I had the money in those days to give it a try. But what I didn't have was the courage to go to an individual therapist or practitioner and tell them anything about myself. I would have been scared stiff.
Mm.
But by being in a group situation like a training course, I thought, I'll be able to do my stuff quietly on my own at the end of the day or whatever.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that was where I started, and then gradually I did discover that there was more out there than just the kind of career I'd had. I managed to walk out of there with a payoff, and ended up running a clean language training company for a few years with a business partner. And then a couple of years ago moved on from there to working independently and really working, well, doing a variety of things, introducing clean language to a much, much, much wider audience because it's the thing that excites me, and doing what I love. And now I really am, I think, living the dream, which is quite an exciting place to be.
It's always good when you hear that career transition because so many people, once they're in a career, they feel stuck by it. And to hear that there are people that actually move careers and do something else completely must be quite refreshing for a lot of people.
Yeah, I think when you're in the trapped place, well, so it was for me, that I found it almost impossible to imagine what could possibly be alternative to it.
Mm.
I'd gone into journalism believing that was the only thing I could possibly do, that anyone would pay me for.
Mm.
I really didn't believe that I was fit for anything else. And now I know that not only am I, but I'm in demand for all sorts of interesting things to do. And my coaching diary is full, and I do all my coaching on the phone and on Skype, which means I can do it from wherever I want to. I can work from my home in London, or I can work from up here in Yorkshire, where I am at the moment, or anywhere in the world. And the ripples of being a coach in those kind of circumstances just spread out all over the world. So I've got clients in Korea and in Australia and in America and things, as well as in the UK, which means I can have a bigger impact on the world.
That sounds really good. And and when you, I mean, one of the things is probably obvious is being a great change worker and making a real business out of it are two different ball games. And from your experience, what are some of the pointers that you provide for people who really want to make a real business out of it? Because you say your coaching business is full, but I imagine it wasn't always full. You had to work to get that.
Yes, it was. Again, I think there was a moment when it was sort of a flash of inspiration. I was actually testing a marketing product for a friend, and she's, could you just put your stuff through this process that I've devised and just check whether it works? And because it wasn't important, I just filled in some things and then went out and said to people, well, what I do is I offer coaches who are who haven't really yet found their niche and aren't making money from coaching. I help them to find their sweet spot where what they really are passionate about and are good at coincides with the need of a hungry crowd, waving wads of fivers. And as soon as I started to say that, people came towards me, and it was then easy. But what I think I'd done was move my attention away from myself and towards some other people who wanted something from me.
Right.
So rather than sitting around going, well, who are the people who I would love to work with? It was, well, who are the people who are in my immediate environment who want to work with me? And what do they want that I can give them?
Right, okay.
It's a different kind of question.
Mm.
And, there are various reasons why it is fantastic to work with coaches and NLP professionals, hypnotherapists and these kind of people. And I don't think from a standing start I would ever have come up with that as being my ideal clients. I'd still be going there, oh, are they between 39 and 46, or are they between 23 and 27? And
are they
do
male
they...
or female?
It's a different kind of question, right? Let's assume there are people in your immediate environment who you can help. What would they like you to do for them that you can do?
Okay, so by doing that, you're not necessarily putting yourself down to a niche. It's more environmental in a way. It's who's around me who I can help.
And once you start helping people, and I think it's Michael Neal who says, right, whatever you say you do, just do it. If you are a coach, coach. If you are a writer, write. Because in that process of coaching or writing or creating products, you will naturally refine who you are and what you do. So you may not always work with the kind of people you choose to work with today, but the very process of working with them will help you become clearer about who you want to work with.
So with marketers on the internet saying, you find your niche and get your website and get that up and running. This that you'll talk about is almost before that, looking at who you find you're working with around your environment, and then when you go online, you'll have more of a clearer idea about who you're targeting. Would you say that's correct, or?
Yes, and in the famous phrase, in the modern internet era, you don't have to decide first and then create a website. You can literally decide today, this morning, to present yourself as one kind of person and have the website there this afternoon. You don't, it really is that quick. You can be creating pages on Facebook that target you a particular audience. You don't need high levels of technical skill to do it anymore, and you don't need long lead times, and you don't need to pay people.
Mm.
You don't even need to spend lots of money on having a logo created or creating business cards. All you need to do is to decide, I'm going to present myself on this day or at this event as this kind of thing.
Right.
And start testing it and see what happens.
Okay.
And the realization is in the doing, not in sitting around gazing at your navel. So at the conference at the weekend, I tested half a dozen different ways of introducing myself, just to see what happened.
Did you find a good one?
Well, still that sweet spot one is having a fabulous effect, as far as I can tell. Oh, it's so annoying. The whole struggling coach thing is like really, really frustrating, and I suspect it's not an accident that the struggling coach thing continues, because I think there are people who've got a vested interest in keeping coaches struggling. It makes me cross, because it seems to me that if people have if it's true that this stuff works, and certain chunks of this stuff definitely work, not everything in the personal development world works for everybody all the time, but enough of the stuff works at least some of the time to make it worth spreading, make it worth applying, make it worth getting out there.
Yeah.
If we're sitting around struggling and gazing at our navels and not getting the stuff out there, we're not doing our job. We are failing to serve the people that we have been trained to serve. They are not getting the benefit. That means that they're sitting around crying into their beer. They are not achieving what they could be achieving. The world is not getting better as a result of all this stuff.